All right, kick this out. Yo, this is SEC1337. I'm going backwards. This is week 16. This is going to be more advanced security topics. I'm here with my man Don Juan, Don Julio, and we're going to be live streaming this on TikTok and Instapot, Facelift, Clapchat. No, we're not actually live streaming. We're just going to record it. But yeah, this is going to be week 16 a year ago, but I got distracted as it goes. And we're going to talk about it. So, a little background about me. I've been working at IonQ. It's a quantum computing company since October 2022. I was like a full-time distinguished security engineer, and I just became a consultant again. And I've actually been being the technical lead for NIST Quantum Leap Challenge, which has been going on since '91. It's basically like developing post-quantum crypto, right? And so, what is well, let's go backwards. We need to understand like what quantum computing is, you know, at a fundamental level. Why is it so cool? Well, this is why it's cool. So in traditional computing, you've got the idea of electricity, like a state of electricity can be 1 or 0. That's what represents a bit. And if you put enough bits together, it can be 1, 0, 0, 1, however. You get 8 bits together, and you got yourself a byte. Bite my ass, Benji. Sorry, the press guys. There's a byte, and it's pretty predictable. It's very like it's geometric, it's arithmetic, and that's the state of like a classical computer. So if you add enough bits, it's always since there's 2 states, the number of bits, say n, equals like 2 to the n bits equals this number of possible like bytes, so like 8 bits equals 16, so on and so forth. So quantum though, it's a bit fucky, as Ricky would say. So in the quantum world, you have this idea of a qubit, and I'll just say that quantum like drove Einstein nuts because he couldn't understand how to reconcile like relativity, which is all about macro, with the the very, very small, which is quantum. Stephen Hawking worked in this thing called a unified field theory. Couldn't really figure it out. And then this guy, Richard Feynman, came along in the 80s. I forget the exact year, but he's kind of the father of quantum computing. And what he suggested kind of changed the whole trajectory. He's like, if you can understand quantum, it'll infer relativity. Stop trying to bridge them. Like, understand what happens at quantum, it'll explain what's happening at the macro. And so after that, people started really digging in and trying to understand like this very bizarre world. So in the quantum world, for example, you have this thing called superposition. And superposition is, without getting into too much quantum physics, it's this idea of like there's probabilistic states in which photons can move, because energy is a light and a particle, like it's actually both. And it's determined by this thing called eigenvalues, blah, blah, blah. What you need to know in computing is this. Instead of a 1 or 0, it can actually be in infinitely many states within that. It can be like a point, it can be like in a 0.2, a 0.3, and the superposition is like, you're like, you don't know the state of the system until you observe it. There's this old experiment I just call it Schrodinger's potato, because I don't like that he uses cats. Schrodinger's potato in a box. And like, he basically says this: if you're in one room with like a chamber that you can pull a lever that has like lethal gas, in the other room you got the potato in the box. You pull the lever, here's a potato, but you don't actually know if the potato's dead till you observe it. That's essentially superposition. It sounds bizarre, but like this allows for there to be like a huge amount of probability in computation that doesn't exist in the classical world. So with enough of these quantum bits, when you do like qubit 1 and qubit 2, you entangle them. And this is also what drove Einstein nuts. He's like, if you entangle these enough and the state of one of these bits flips, no matter where it is in the universe, the other qubit knows. They're like literally like, it sounds all romantic and like, you know, poetic, like, oh man, we're like entangled through space-time, bro, you know, but it's true. And it's like, for some reason, throughout the vast expanse of time, these things are entangled, and even though we can't observe it, these quantum bits like understand like the values. And so you put enough of these together, and you literally, like, if we have q to the n bits, we can solve problems that traditionally will take basically non-polynomial time. So there's this idea of this thing called NP problems, non-deterministic polynomial. There's just certain problems right now that longer than the age of the universe. Like trying to for example, well, there's a couple examples, but trying to break the key size of like, say an RSA 2048 key. Mm-hmm. So that's what makes the system strong, is like the idea that to create a strong key, you can easily go and multiply like 1,000,000 times. Sorry, I'm remembering Ali G, or Borat. Ali G, he's like, what would happen if you took a 9999999 and multiplied it by 999? And it's like, it's very easy to go to 999 this way. What's really hard though is to find the factors. If you remember from school, you're trying to find the prime numbers. So like 1 and 7, it's like 1, 7, etc. It's like, and a prime just has the factors of, or wait, hold on a second. It just has one unique like combination. So 13, 22 has a couple combinations because it's like not only 22 and 1, but it's also 2 and 11, so it's not prime. Mm-hmm. But imagine you go out here and you have this gigantic key that's like 1,000,000 digits long. Like whatever the hell it is, there's huge primes. How do you find the unique factors of that, like the prime? It takes a long, you have to literally go through every combination traditionally. Sometimes you'll land on the right key, but this is why like encryption works, you know. And this is for, even for symmetric, so like RSA uses large keys like 2048 bits, and ECC, elliptical curve, uses like, it's weird that it's like, the key sizes for ECC are 256, 384, and 521. Mm-hmm. Don't really know why, but the important thing is like these are huge keys. Even AES, which is what you use for Wi-Fi, is 256. But like to be able to solve that traditionally, it's going to take like 300 million years. Mm-hmm. With a quantum computer though, with enough quantum bits, and they have estimated that with 106 quantum bits, you can break RSA 2048 in about 3 days, which is crazy. And IonQ right now has, when I joined, there were 29 quantum bits, now they're up to 68. Like, it's happening, it's inevitable, you know what I mean? And
so this isn't just like theory anymore.
It's real.
This is like they're starting to put this together, and this they're like scratching the surface of it. Like realistically, where is technology at with this, like as of today?
Yeah, if I'm gonna be like conservative, I'll be like 10 years. But if I'm gonna be realistic, probably like end of the decade, where they'll break RSA or even AES. And when that happens, this is where post-quantum comes in, because when that happens, everything we depend on will be completely unreliable and vulnerable. So your bank, your military, this is the crazy thing. So like, people don't realize that there's this whole concept of like forward secrecy, of like not being able to replay the same attack. But when we can decrypt that stuff, we'll be able to decrypt military secrets that are still used. Like 5 years ago, we might have used like something that was a TTL for like how to triangulate a drone. Mm-hmm. Well, this stuff's still used, you know what I mean? So we'll be able to decrypt everything. We'll be able to break ATM security, hack cars. Like everything we rely on will be completely like compromised. So that's why post-quantum exists. It's like, what does security look like in the quantum world? And it's different. And so what I've been working on with this team, and my name's actually on these patents, well, that I've worked on. I didn't put my names on it deliberately, and I'll tell you why. Because back when Tesla was trying to give electricity to the people for free, he accidentally put the patent in his name, and then it was essentially hijacked by Edison as a corporation. Whenever you're a person, your ideas can be basically commandeered by a corporation. So what I determined, and I kind of talked to my manager, Matt Keeson, he's one of the founders of IonQ. I was like, I looked at case law, I studied this shit for like a year, and I was like, if you put inventions in the name of the people, it can't be hijacked by a corporation. Whoa! I'm good. And literally, but you have to give it to the people. This is what should have happened with the internet. With ARPANET, they didn't do it. They patented it to Tim Berners-Lee, whoever else, and now it's like literally corporatized like everything. But this here, this is the most important shit ever. Like, I'm not just saying that because it's what I'm working on. It's like, the reason I'm working on this is because it will unlock everything. So like, right now, so back to the MP hard completes. One example, like I said, is breaking the key. Another one is this thing, like these factorial growth problems. But check this out. So there's this thing called the the traveling salesman. Have you ever heard of this?
I don't think so.
So like, if there's a dude here at A, and he needs to go to hit like 50, there's like all these different cities you know, it's like, what are the number of possible pathways? There's like actually an infinite number as you keep going. It's similar to that game, Go, that like, or like chess, if you look at like all the possibilities, it's like,
right, okay.
or like, yeah, so NP hard are like, NP hard are like the problems that, like we know that there's an amount of time, but it's insanely long.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, if this problem will take 3 billion years, we at least know. NP complete is like, we don't even know if we can solve them. You know, so like, trying to understand the origins of the universe, like, factorial growth. This is the thing I'm working on, this is my thesis. It's like, I call it the critter coalescent corollary. It's like, I can't explain in Monroe Park the multiplication of people that come out of nowhere. Literally, I'm there dancing, next thing you know, there's 6 people. This person brings 3, then they bring 4.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, literally, it's just like,
It's unstable.
and it's beyond exponentiation.
Yeah.
So those are like, those end up being NP complete problems. Another one is like reverse engineering, like like human genome and sequencing it. But if we can do that, we can solve in real time. Like imagine going to the doctor and they can like in real time diagnose you, be like, okay, you tried this medication, that. You know, if quantum computing power, you can solve that shit. You can also like fix sickle cell anemia, Down syndrome. Imagine that shit. You know, like being able to solve that. And so this is like this whole idea. If you listen to like Ray Kurzweil, kind of those nutballs. I mean, he's kind of onto something, but he takes like 66 different multivitamins so that he can stay alive for 2045. They talk about the singularity. All the singularity is basically the point in which quantum happens, which it unlocks this runaway like progress. So for example, we're talking about the pillars of security. Right now we have like a certain amount of like geometric time of like solving problems and breaking keys. But what if, okay, we break RSA. What does, let's talk about the pillars of security. What does QRSA, or whatever the fuck it's called, like they haven't actually come up with it, let's say quantum, yeah, you know, or like QAS, they haven't actually patented it, but like, what does it look like? Well, the thing is, like, because a quantum computer can keep breaking the key as fast as it's generated, this system will also evolve in like in factorial time, which means that the progress will literally be like runaway. And we'll like singularity is this idea that we'll fuse with machines. What it will really mean is that like technology will like overwhelm us in a sense, and so we'll like constantly be online. And so one of the other problems that I've been thinking about, or that I don't know that anyone's trying to solve this per se, is like, think about the fact that right now we can't protect people that choose to be on the internet. What happens when you're always on the internet? What if you don't have a choice? What if like your watch, your mind, you know, like you're constantly being attacked, like you have to deal with it. It's kind of like that Dave Chappelle episode where he goes and like, this is what the internet looks like in real life. And there's like ads everywhere and he's like, boom, fuck you, CLS, fuck. Like, so this is like this leads to some very big problems. Also, Bruce Schneier, if you haven't heard of him, he's one of like the premier cryptographers. He wrote that book too, Applied Cryptography. But he wrote his latest one's called Click Here to Kill Everybody. And it's about the convergence of physical digital, how like 5G, IoT, like we're just operating within a network. It's already sensing. It's already like there. You know what I mean? Like we're like everywhere you go, there's just like network signals that are like we're humans that are operating within it. And like physical and digital are the same thing. Look at Stuxnet from 2011. Literally destroyed centrifuges with a digital weapon. Marriott, perfect idea of hotel security. It's like all it is are physical systems with digital controls. The one exception is like locks are physical security devices, but like card readers, cameras, access control, it's all digital. It's like there's physical devices, so like it's the same thing. You can do physical harm to people. It's not just like, oh, he's just living out there in La La Land, or like, you know, like he's in a video game world or whatever. It's like you're both here, and there's also like the exchange of currency. Like money's virtual, and like you can literally just like exchange, like except for gold and like hard assets, but it's all fiat. You're not just on a computer. I digress. So the pillars of security, and these are the patents with my name, but again, these are filed on behalf of the people back in, most of these were February. And it's funny, this is like the year when all the shit hit the fan, because that's when I got stuck in the elevator. This was like, literally, if I say that like I was working up to the most important stuff in my life, like this is what happened, and then it kind of culminated in a disaster. But there are patents filed, and these are the pillars. 8 pillars, really fundamental pillars of security that have to exist in the quantum world are this. Okay, and there's a couple more, but these generally capture it. You got asymmetric encryption, also known as public key cryptography, right? Alice and Bob, RSA, don't need to go on that. That's actually covered in week 1, sort of. RSA, ECC. So what does like QRSA, QECC? It's like, okay, if we have like 20, 48 qubits, well, we know that we have to constantly be increasing the security of the system. If we have this number that we can break, that means that we need, and it requires, say, 106 qubits. Well, that means we need to build a system with 107, right? And we have to constantly be doing, like, you can see how the evolution is going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to, like, runaway progress, which is awesome. Same with asymmetric. So asymmetric is meant for bigger keys, longer storage, like data at rest. You know, if you want to send, PGP is a perfect example of, like, sending messages long term. Symmetric is faster but shorter term. And you need both, honestly. Like, so this is for data in transit. An example of this is AES. You've also got Blowfish. The old standards are like DES and 3DS. This is like WPA2. So when you connect using a pre-shared key for that section, it's strong enough. It's like you don't care that you break it. It doesn't need to be good for years. It's just good for like a couple days till DHCP kicks back in. And so this is fast. So like normally this is sizes of 256. Well, you little princess, you little meatball. There's that. So that's 1 pillar, 2 pillar. Then you've got integrity, right? Integrity has to do with like making sure the data isn't tampered with in transit. Like, and so you have current hashing algorithms right now. Like you've got MD5's broke. SHA-1's actually been broke by the birthday attack. That's another thing. SHA-256 is the standard, but like a quantum computer will break it pretty quickly. You have SHA-512. You got bcrypt, which is what Linux uses. The best one right now is Argon 2. It's got big keys and it's hard. But again, all this stuff is going to be broken by quantum. So if you can put a Q in front of this, like, how do you make it so that, and this is the whole idea of post-quantum, and this is what my class at University of Maryland was at, CSC 800, designing and deploying post-quantum crypto, which I'm going to actually record. I'm going to be teaching it again, I'm going to be teaching again in the spring, and I'm going to record it because everything is behind the paywall at UMD Global Campus, so nobody can actually see it.
I might come with you for that.
Yeah, please do. No, you can. The last time it was just Matt Keeson and the head of QLab at Maryland Andrew Childs, but it was super cool. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so post-quantum crypto. So where things are, just so you know, is we have all the theory and like what needs to happen. We're waiting for the industry partners to implement it. I'm going to mention that. Like Google has to start implementing TLS, Cloudflare, like, and they're kind of kicking the can down the road. But I think DARPA just got like $20 billion to finally finish
For
the
quantum.
Quantum Leap Challenge, because like this is everything. And as far as we know, we're leading, but you can't depend on that like advantage forever, like
So,
China.
That was a question while we're talking about this. That was going through my head this whole time. It's like, all right, in a perfect world, America would be the first one to do
Yeah,
this,
the
right?
West,
Say it's
yeah.
somebody else, right?
Yeah.
The jump that the first country has is probably going to be, if they use it for good or not. But
Yeah.
could somebody else learn from that pretty quickly to catch up?
Absolutely. I mean, look at like nuclear weapons, right? The Russians got it within 3 months. Like, it's really hard to like preserve information, and we know that like we're ahead because we've been working on this since the 90s. But we also know that like we can't depend on first strike. This is mutually assured destruction. You know what I mean? Like in everything that exists in quantum, if it ends up being militarized, like this can be the greatest gift or the greatest like weapon for humanity. It's all about how we use it. It has huge potential, but like, and the reason we know that we're in charge, like I said, is because it's developed by us. It's kind of like the internet. Like, and the reason I know that NSA is where they are is because they actually are partnered with IonQ and UMD because they're right there. And so I've worked on the civilian side. I don't know what's happening like in the top secret world, but all the top secret world is just like the name of the assets and the agents and stuff. But we are pretty close in the Western world, and like I'm convinced that we'll get there. But China and Russia has great computer scientists, and China has people. You know.
Never know.
And then Nixon was like, "Don't ever let those two ally because it's going to lead to like destruction." So it's
They could really do. I mean, that could be.
Yeah.
They could set you back a long time if
Yeah.
they got it first.
I mean, whoever gets this will control the next 1,000 years of history.
Yeah.
Like honestly, it'll be thankfully we got some good people and we understand the theory, but it's just we gotta figure out like fuck AI beyond that, because a lot of it's again quantum. Even though quantum, of course, now is being like completely just bastardized and hijacked, but this is real. Like AI is a thing. Yes, it's a thing, but you want to talk about like quantum will lead the way to actual AI. You know what I mean?
Say about QAI.
QA, Q, since everything's quantum, right? And that's how it is. So with the pillars, you got asymmetric, you got symmetric, you got integrity. You've also got like availability as part of the CIA triad. So like these systems have to be online, right? You know, if you can't use your key card system or whatever, that's a security issue. But then you get into like the key things. There's a whole lot of shit around like keys. So there's key management, like how do you securely escrow these keys? And the keys are like part of certificates. You get into like all this stuff. There's private, public, signing, and so managing it like, and then you get into stuff like Diffie-Hellman, which has to do with like how to generate keys using I forget like certain. I don't remember them, but then there's also key exchange. Like how do you for example like the whole Alice Bob thing.
Yeah.
How do you like securely? Here's the beautiful thing of the internet. You can actually transact anonymously without ever meeting anyone. Like you can literally establish Bob can establish trust by like Bob using Alice's public key to send a message and so on. So how do you like actually manage that or exchange that, and how do you do that like securely? And then there's the whole AAA thing, which is authentication, authorization, and accounting. Accounting is really just like logging. So that's going to be quantum, because that's going to be really interesting. So there's a concept called nano authentication, or like polyfactorization, which is, okay, imagine this. You're coming in, you're trying to log in, and in real time it's trying to determine things like, here's your IP, here's your location, this is your Bluetooth, and it's trying to create a certainty score of like, we're 80% sure you're Don Orr, so we'll give you access like to this system to read Gmail, but if you want 100%, you've got it's like adaptive authentication, but it's actually real time, because right now authentication is very much black and white, not completely, but it's like you either get complete access or you get no access.
Yeah.
But imagine like even walking into like a hotel and like it can give you like access through 3 doors, but to get to the 4th one you need to like prove your identity in real time. So quantum will be able to do that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole like pillar of what am I gonna say? This is like the logging, monitoring, and alerting, right? Like how do we actually like collect logs that are useful? How do we ingest them? Can we use a sim to do real-time analysis now as opposed to like historical? Because right now it's needles and haystacks, but with a quantum computer, it can plow through those haystacks, So maybe it'll be useful, and we can still add high-fidelity signals, but it'll completely change the landscape. So these are the pillars in which like we file the patents and have a sort of description of how we suggest implementing them, and it's all based off of this post world when we know that we can break it. Like this is how we have to approach it, and so these are the core pillars. And like I said, the theory is understood, even like the actual design, but we need the implementation. We need the rubber hitting the road, and so that's like in essence quantum. But here's an interesting thing too. Like people are like, oh man, like nothing's like. The cool thing with this is going to happen behind the scenes. It's not like you're going to have a quantum computer. Like we already have like computers that operate on quantum principles of like superposition and like circuits and so on. But behind the scenes, this will be like, I gotta get you a tour of IonQ. They have like a quantum computer. It's huge. But actually, yeah, let me dive more into.
So before you go, what does that entail? Like when we talk about like quantum, it's like it starts like with some kind of processor, or is it like a whole?
So it has
I'm not looking at this completely.
No. So there's different methods too. So like here's the interesting thing with IonQ. The way that you even manipulate quantum bits in the state is like you can look at light. You can look at different ways in which you can manipulate light.
Yeah.
And that was what was used until like 2015. But IonQ came around and they said, let's look at phased ion trapping, which has to do with temperature. And at the time, everybody kind of laughed at them. We're like, this is crackpot, like IBM. But now they're like customers because they're the ones that took the gamble. And it's the thing that works because it has less of an ability of decoherence. So the problem with entangling many quantum bits is the system gets super unstable. And you're essentially playing God. If you look at like what you're trying to do, like with atoms, and you're trying to keep these things apart, until you're ready to observe them. And so that's antithetical to the universe. The universe wants atoms spawn, you know? So you're pulling them apart, you're playing God, and then you're bringing them together. And so this issue, like the environment completely interferes with this. You've got sound, you've got vibration, and so on. And so light's very finicky. Like it scatters pretty quickly. But with temperature, you can insulate it, and you use radioactive materials. And this is what was classified until 2 years ago. They actually use barium, you know, which is a super radioactive isotope, and they use this actually to insulate quantum bits, which is how they've been able to get to 68, as opposed to these other people that like. If you look at the problem, like nobody's been able to entangle more than like 30 quantum bits because it's too unstable. But like, man, I give props to like, Ken Lee and Chris Johnson are the founders, and then Matt Keeston, who I work with now, of like figuring this out. And so now, but it's a difficult process. You know, you have to slowly entangle the bits. And like I said, I joined in 2022. There were 29, and there's a whole team of like I think 63 people now, of like the best like cryptographers, physicists, material science engineers that are working on this problem. Mm-hmm. And I'm convinced like they'll get there. It's slow and steady. There's no shortcut. You know what I mean? Because each qubit you entangle, you've got to like figure out how to like. Wow. And yeah, so and they have this gigantic machine that's the size of like the building, and that's the stuff that like will happen behind the scenes. Yeah. And then it'll provide for processing capabilities. So one of the cool things that I'm excited about with quantum is like the ability to send information at the speed of light, but even faster. So there are shortcuts through space-time, wormholes. And so like, imagine here, like slow-ass Comcast and Xfinity. Imagine if you can actually just like send a message with instant receipt across the universe at the speed of light.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And again, because of the entanglement property, like this bit will flip, and this one will automatically know the state. That shit's awesome. Yeah. So I mean, there's so many properties of like quantum that are like gonna happen. But yeah, that's the thing. It's a very complicated process. I mean, you're looking at the sub, very small. The world that makes no sense to us, but it's actually how it operates. And Einstein knew it, and he just couldn't wrap his head around like how to reconcile it. And again, now that we're understanding quantum, we're like, oh, okay, this will actually pave the way to macro. This will actually allow us to understand relativity, because if we can get quantum to help us understand like the true origins of the universe, like before the Big Bang, or like what happened, that'll like give us an understanding that we just don't have right now. The secrets of the universe. And like there's a lot of people until recently that were convinced that this was theoretical and it would never happen. And like I just think like it is possible. It's just the human, you know, we needed the human ingenuity to push it forward. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of cool stuff with this. So if you look at like what post quantum looks like, we'll just say for argument's sake that IonQ cracks this thing, right? Yeah. They have some kind of model that's available to roll out, right? Yeah. But you know, it's not going to be available. Like, not everybody's going to have a quantum computer.
Yeah,
what it sounds like it's like,
really will,
it's like they're going to have a quantum computer that you could probably rent or buy.
Right now. They actually have APIs and stuff.
Okay.
And people that consume it, and then there will be devices that like they'll get smaller and smaller, and you'll have like a quantum chip in your watch, or like something that operates, but you won't have your desktop won't be like a quantum computer, because all the processing is going to be offloaded to the cloud anyway. That's sort of where things are moving. Is like less localization and more like distributed, you know, which is cool.
IonQ's cloud.
Yeah, exactly. IonQ and like wherever. Like there's a lot of companies in the space, but there's also a lot of just nonsense out there. People are like, oh, we entangled like 10,000 different quantum bits. But they're actually referring it, there's a scale of like, it's like 200 to 1. It's all like clickbait shit, you know, because reality is like, nobody has entangled over 70 quantum bits that we know of. Like, I'm pretty certain, like I said, with all the intelligence we have, that IonQ and that partnership with the Cyber Command and GCHQ is there. And until like, if they had this many quantum bits, they would have broke RSA. They would have like, they're just using this like, different model and language, which really pisses me off, you know. But anyway.
Yeah, so technically this is like, you know, with how this is gonna be done, like it's like explosive, like it could blow up. Like, so that's probably what they're looking at.
This is the hot
keep
shit.
It stable.
Yeah, exactly. Because this could run amok. This could actually be like something that runs amok. But it has the potential to like completely transform human life in like in the most meaningful way. But again, technology is not good or bad. It's how you use it. So you could absolutely see how this could lead to like next level warfare, whatever the hell it may be.
Yeah.
You know, like, so that's in essence quantum. There's a whole lot more. I got a ton of resources that I'll send out with with the syllabus. It's really cool. I mean, this is really like my life's like most important work if I look at like, everything else I've done, because I just want to be part of this, and I am part of it, but I want to be like there, because once this happens, like, we'll be able to solve real problems, you know.
I think you touched on all the things with this that is going to be, you know, in the future, the most important things with technology. You know, you talked about like always being online.
Yeah,
I think
the
that
freaky concept.
Quantum,
Yeah, that's
and
why the
then
final
AI.
was so great. Yeah, AI.
Yeah, and then when you combine all three of those, they all kind of go together.
Yeah, exactly.
But those three topics, I think, are going to be the biggest things in the future.
Yeah,
like,
it's like quantum. It's
how
like,
we live with AI and post-quantum.
because quantum will lead to like incredibly powerful like computers that actually can learn. I mean, again, I don't believe like until I see until my AI gets smart enough where I can connect Apple and Google or like whatever, like, you know, like I don't like AI. It's still like there's still a limit to the knowledge, but quantum could unlock it in a way that like if it becomes self-aware, you know, because I don't know. That's the thing. Like, if it does, like that's when we have a lot. That's Skynet level shit.
I was just about to say that. I was say this is how Skynet starts with sentient AI.
Yeah. So this is what I say. So it's going to be quantum AI and like identity in a lot of forms. Like you as an individual, like your online identity, your identity. Because you know, like right now, even on a cultural level, you got this social credit score, and you have all this stuff that's like tied to like. You're one person, and like they're trying to track you with like a digital passport. They want to figure out how to give you central bank digital currency. It's like there's a lot of good and bad things, but they want to basically be able to control you no matter where you go, physical or digital, which is kind of dystopian as fuck. But as a security person, you can really leverage this. Like you can leverage quantum to be completely anonymous. You know what I mean? Like you can. So it's going to be a real challenge for governments and people that do it. Like the thing with like security pretty much disables censorship. You know what I mean? Like if you have encryption, like the Great Firewall of China is useless, you know? And so like literally, because like you can't inspect the traffic, you know what I mean? Like and so if you're able to encrypt data, like that's what I tell people, like mathematics and physics favors security. You know, because it's really easy to go this way forward. Like, you know, it's easy to chop an avocado. It's really hard to put it back together. You know, like physics lends itself to mathematics, but the reason there's so much insecurity is because of the poor implementation, because of the human element. It's all like these side channel attacks. It's not the mathematics. The mathematics is solid as shit. But it's like, I use this example of like Tor, since I was going to tell you about Tor. So in 2013, so this thing's been around since 2004, and it, you know, it's the onion router. It basically operates with relays, where there's 3 different relays, and it encrypts it, like it knows the IP here, only this knows the IP. But then the issue is you have these exit nodes. And if you correlate enough traffic, you can figure out the exit nodes, but also you can also target the platforms running Tor browsers. So what happened in 2013, there's this guy, Eric Barnes, I think. He ran this thing called Freedom Hosting, which had a lot of child porn. And the way that they found him is there was a bug in the Tor browser that if you ran a specific command, it would cause it to spit out the debug logs and actually send you the IP of the relays. Yeah, and so they found this, and then they were able to basically find his servers like pretty quickly. Same thing with Silk Road. Yeah, so they won't admit actually how they found it, but like it's most likely because of similar exploit. And what else happened? There were just like Ross. So I knew Ross. Interesting enough, I think I told you. I met him at a drum circle in Austin.
Did you really?
Yeah, we're friends. Yeah, like I haven't talked to him since he went to jail. Really.
He's out now.
He is. I need to reconnect to him. Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like I met him in Austin right before we went to San Francisco, and cool dude. Like shouldn't have been in jail for life, glad he's out. But like he got kind of caught up in it, and he again, it's like it's because of operational security. The way that he got found out. Well, see, they use this whole parallel construction thing. They found stuff illegally, and what had happened was pretty sure that like his machine got compromised. The NSA was watching him. He ordered fake IDs. Then they did like a controlled delivery, and they found him and they asked him, and they basically like they found this evidence, and then they like acted like it was normal. Like the NSA totally like hacked his machine, you know, because he wasn't a computer expert. He went to school for mechanical engineering, and like he was in over his head. And I even like talked to him and gave him security advice, and he just sort of got like consumed by it. And at one point, he's like trying to pay people to like to hitmen and all this
That
stuff.
was the big one, yeah.
And like, who knows if that actually happened? Because then they found out that the DE agents were corrupt and they took money. Like, all this is to say, like, there's a lot of flaws in implementation. That's part of like what the government relies on. You know, it's like right now the whole model for NSA is like hoarding vulnerabilities. The problem is like they end up getting hacked, and those vulnerabilities are not just known to them, and so they need to move to a model of like just in time access where that secret